Alrighty. We're going to keep this very short and sweet, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to keep you long because I don't want to. And I know y'all get tired of listening to me ramble and rant and rave about wrestling. Let me get to SmackDown and then I'll get to other stuff later. So try to keep your comments focused on SmackDown. If you don't follow me on Instagram, then you won't know that I'm well aware of the events that have happened today regarding Seth Rollins and the announcement with him. So give me a minute to get everything out with wrestling in terms of SmackDown first. Then we'll get into other stuff and everything else. Okay? Right, cool. Those of you who are in the chat, if you heard what I said and you see somebody come in and say it in the chat, please, please, please keep them informed as well that I will talk about that later when I have the opportunity to. It takes a lot for me to get these recaps for the show out. So I need to be able to focus on talking about it because I forget stuff when I get sidetracked. Okay. So let's dive into it. Now, if you didn't watch SmackDown last week, to make sure you understand where we are leading into SmackDown this week, last week, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight worked very well together to dismantle what is left of the bloodline sans Roman Reigns. You see, Roman caused everything that is happening right now leading into next week's Rumble. Roman caused. Okay. He is the reason why it's a fatal four way, why he has three opponents instead of one. This is all his own doing. Had he had just let the triple threat match play out the way he wanted it, the way they needed it to, he would have one opponent and he would only be dealing with one person. But because he decided to go in there and exert his dominance, like the idiot that he is, he partially caused his own demise in this particular situation. Now, does that mean that he's going to lose the title per se? No, not necessarily. But he did make it harder for him to keep it. Now, let's go into Monday Night Raw today. Today was supposed to be the contract signing. The men were supposed to go out. Nick Aldis had the table set up, the microphones, and the contract. Everybody was signed. We go home. Good day. Well, it's SmackDown. Nothing ever goes according to plan. Now, AJ Styles came out, signed the contract. LA Knight came out, signed the contract. Randy came out, signed the contract. But instead of Roman coming out, he sent out his big boy, Pauline. Now, prior to this, we also saw that Roman was still very pissed that nobody fixed this situation. He felt like the situation should have been rectified. So, when he came in, it was cold in Atlanta. So, when he came in, he said, this needs to be fixed. Period, point blank. And he walked away. Quite frankly, he was the quarterback on this particular play. He called the play. The play didn't work out. It ended up backfiring. You can't ask your wide receivers and your lineman to fix this for you. You're the one who has to facilitate the game, bro. So this is on you. But it wasn't fixed. Pauline came out there and decided to cut a speech about how he wasn't going to do it. His lawyer needed to look over the contract, blah, 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 blah. So Nick Aldis was like, you know what? You're right. He doesn't have to sign the contract because I'll strip him of the title. The title will be vacated and it'll just be LA Knight versus AJ Styles versus Randy Orton for the newly vacated WWE Universal Undisputed Championship. And of course, Pauline didn't like that. So he stomped his little roly-poly ass back down to the ring and basically tried to talk shit about Nick Aldis and the way he dressed. Like, I see you trying to wear your little fake custom suits like me. Pauline, let's just call a spade, okay? With the kind of money you make at WWE, it is very possible for you to have custom suits. But quite frankly, you don't have much of a choice to have custom suits. But given the fact that you wear a size, I would say 64, 66, There is no other way for you to have a suit other than to buy big and tall suits from the other companies, to which I happen to know exactly where you probably get your suits from. The highest quality of suits that you could get it from is a place called Statement, which they're fairly inexpensive by your standards, but you say that you wear custom Tom Ford suits. And I know for a fact that Nick Aldis does not wear those types of suits. Nick Aldis wears Apollo King and Statement style suits. Those are the suits that he wears because I sell them. I know what he wears. But you, on the other hand, could very well be wearing Tom Ford or anybody else that you want to wear. And those are custom made, which means they're going to start at anywhere between two, maybe $4,000 because that's a lot of fabric to wrap around your big ass. So as far as I'm concerned, Nick, all this isn't copying you, babe, because he doesn't have to. He can go to the store and buy a suit off the rack and go get it tailored, whereas your big ass need to go get your shit made custom. Now, do you have to get them custom? No, but it's very hard to find a suit past the 62. They do make them. I know where you can get them from, but it ain't easy being greasy, okay? Let's put it that way. Anyway, sorry, went off on a tangent. He insulted the man, tried to say that the man was trying to be like him and get like him, and he don't have the authority to do this and that. The reality is, Nick Aldis very well does have the authority to strip Roman of his championship if he is not being compliant to the parameters of the matches that he set. It ain't like he's wielding his power and holding his authority over Roman. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Roman keeps trying to strong arm Nick, and Nick ain't having it. There's a difference between Wide Hip Adam and Nick Aldis. You keep pushing Nick, that nigga might just come out that damn that suit and teach you a couple things. But I digress. The situation imploded when LA Knight picked up the microphone and basically told Mark Pauline to shut his jowls down. Okay. He was like, I don't want to hear that. He said, the only thing that you got right is that these two don't need to be in this match. He said, y'all been gone this whole time, and I was here. I had Roman pinned, and the only reason why I'm not champion is because of his punk ass cousin. Now, LA Knight told Pauline, if he don't shut the fuck up, he gonna cut the bacon off his back. And I said, what? Not the bacon? Oh my God. Child, I laughed at that shit for over 20 minutes. But anyway, I don't think it's bacon on his back. I think it's fat back. You ain't really ate no good greens unless you know about fatback, okay? But anyways, this led to a back and forth between AJ Styles and LA Knight, to which Randy stood in the corner and did not want no parts. He was like, look, I don't give a fuck who in the match. Basically, he stood back there saying not a word. But he made it very clear. He was like, I don't give a damn about who in the match. I just want the match to get on. I don't give a fuck about none of this. But AJ Styles' gripe was simple. AJ, like, look, I had a gripe with the bloodline that's legitimate. And then as soon as you got the opportunity to step over my cold body, you stepped over me to get to them. He was like, so I got an issue with your ass and I got an issue with the bloodline. And he was like, I'll do whatever it takes to get you and the bloodline. He was like, you do understand that this is a match where we all are going to be after each other. This ain't about me and you. He said, I have the right to attack you because you are in my way from getting to that championship. What about that don't you get? What is not clicking? Him and LA Knight got into it. LA Knight hit him in the face. They started fighting. And the boys was fighting all the way to the back. Now, Randall kept his cool. Everybody was going to the back tending to LA Knight and AJ Styles, but nobody was paying attention to Randy or Pauline. And Pauline thought he was safe. So Randall grabbed him by his little cheap ass tie. And he was like, baby, listen, you thought you were safe. You did, but you're not. He said, I don't give a damn what they talking about. I don't care about nothing about what you talking about. I got a match with Solo tonight, and I'm going to take care of him. And when I get done with him, I'm going to introduce your client, your tribal chief, the one with the flat feet. Him. I'm gonna introduce him to the most dangerous letters in all of sports entertainment. Okay, he gonna suffer that RKO, and he's gonna sign this goddamn contract before this night is out. He will sign this contract. Then he spruced him up, fixed his tie a little bit, made sure he combed them little pieces of hairs that he got left on his head and left out the damn ring while Pauline was about to piss on himself. Now, when he got in the back, of course, Roman chastised Jimmy, which I was confused to rate it. Okay. He chastised Jimmy and he said, Jimmy, I told y'all to fix it. I'm like, no, you told Pauline to fix it. Okay? He was the one you charged with the thing to fix. It wasn't Jim, it was Pauline. So you want to go at Jimmy like it's all Jimmy's fault. Then you want to bring up the yeet and no yeet. You got an issue with that. You're going off on a tangent about the blow up. And it took Solo to say, look, last week was on me. I fucked up. This week I got you. You want them taken care of? Don't worry about it. They're going to be taken care of. Boom. Okay. Boom. Everything's done. Everybody's happy. All right. As the night progressed, we had a couple of matches in between there. So we had LWO versus Legado del Fantasma. Now, that was a pretty solid match between the two teams. But ultimately, what it came down to was good tag team work and a little trickery. Carlito did not know that Escobar had tagged in on Angel. So Carlito had thought he took care of his opponent and he was getting ready to finish it out. He thought that backstabber was the end all be all and he was getting ready to go for the pin, but that didn't work out that way. He ended up getting rolled up by Escobar, and that was the end of the match. Game was over. The boys are running away, and this is the second week in a row that the Legado del Fantasma have stolen a win over LWO. So I don't know how LWO is going to regroup from this situation, but they better do something. Now, this week also, we had another matchup between Butch, Tyler Bate, and of course, Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly seemed extremely confident going into this match. They thought they had everything worked out because they felt like we know we're going up against Butch, we know we're going up against Tyler Bate. There are no more surprises that they can pull out of their bag. But there was one curveball that they did pull out. You see, last week, Tyler Bates sat down with Butch and he had a conversation with him. And basically, what he did was ask him who he was because he didn't know who he was anymore. He had lost the best aspect of who he was into the Brawling Brutes and being Butch. And now it was time for him to make his own decisions on where he wanted to go and what he wanted to be. Tyler Bate posed a pretty decent question, if you ask me. And it looked like it worked because Butch contemplated, and he no longer is going by Butch in the WWE. From now on, he will forever be referred to as the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne reemerged on the roster today with his British Strong Style partner, Tyler Bate, and they once again beat Pretty Deadly. This didn't work out too well for Pretty Deadly because they were not expecting the Bruiserweight. They were expecting Butch. So this kind of rocked their plan a little bit, which I don't quite understand how. It ain't like he changed a whole new person. It's still the same nigga. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get it. But, whatever. I'm just glad we got our Bruiserweight champ back. Anyways, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate did best Pretty Deadly. And Pretty Deadly were not happy campers about it. They were pissed. They went in the back and Kayla interviewed them again and asked them what happened. And they just was like, we weren't prepared. We weren't ready. We didn't know. Blah, blah, blah. So that happened. And now we move into the KO show. Kevin Owens invited Logan Paul to be on his show. And as Logan Paul came out, he made a dig and shade towards KO about his show being rinky dink and bullshit, but he was there. And KO said, Okay. He said, "You're mad and in your feelings because I'm here," which is what Logan Paul said. And this was his in response to Kevin Owens basically saying to Logan in a nutshell that he was a celebrity pick that really didn't belong, but it is what it is. He's gonna give him props because he did better than what most people expected and even what he expected. And Logan Paul was like, "You're in your feelings about it, but you're the reason why I'm here." And Kevin says, "Wait a minute. Before you impress that bullshit upon me, pray tell how I am the reason why you're a part of WWE." So Logan Paul takes us back down memory lane when we were in Florida watching WrestleMania. And it was the first, I believe, show that they had that was live in a year or so, right? The first WWE PLE they had live with people in it. Something like that. Yeah. This was the second pirate themed WrestleMania. Oh, and essentially KO stunnered Logan Paul, and Logan Paul claims he was embarrassed, he was disrespected, and this was his way of proving that he belonged and proving to Kevin Owens that he couldn't disrespect him like this anymore. He couldn't come at him like this anymore. Well, Kevin was like, "I'm be honest, I don't even remember doing that to you. Quite frankly, I don't even remember that mania." Like he said, "You're one of many ass whoopings I've handed out." But of course, you would remember it because you've been protected and pampered your entire way in here. In fact, how you got the title, it was a protected way in here. And he said, "You know what's interesting? You can say all these things about me. You could talk about my weight. You could talk about how I look. You could talk about my arm. Anything that you want to discuss, you can bring it up and say it with all your full chest." But he said, "I can't say the things that I know about you fully. I can't do that, can I?" "No, because you're protected. You've been protected since you brought your ass in here." I was like, "Ooh, that's true." He can't say it, but I can say it. You ain't shit. You ain't had a match against a true boxer, and I don't know when. And quite frankly, your matches, just like WWE matches, are predetermined. We saw the scripts for your little brother's match, and I know it's scripts for yours, bitch. Okay. Not only that, but to call yourself a billionaire is a bit of a stretch. I'll say you a millionaire. I give you that, but a billionaire. I don't know about that one, babes. I don't know about that one. But I tell you what, that crusty, dusty bitch that was in the front that had her daughter holding up that sign that said you was prime time, weird. Weird. That little girl had to be what? 7, 8, maybe 9. Give it a stretch at 10. What is she doing watching Logan Paul type videos? What's going on? What are you doing? Are we letting YouTube and tablets raise our children? I'm just saying. Not only that, but you got a whole lawsuit against your prime time, drinks because it's full of sugar and you marketed it to children with the bright colors and of course your marketing campaigns. You're marketing the drink to children. I mean, we could go on, not to mention that you call yourself a sociopath, and on more than one occasion, you have gone to the Japanese suicide forest, disrespect the Japanese people, disrespected the dead, made a whole thing out of it. We ain't even touched on your long chin brother. We just talking about you. I mean, it's a whole plethora of shit he could have ran down with, but of course, you are protected, and there's not really much Kevin could do about it. All he could do is talk about the real shit. Like, how about you always talking about somebody cheating, but you done cheated your way in this whole fucking time? If we gonna be fair, let's be fair. You in your feelings because he left a shiner on your face for 2 weeks, but you shouldn't have came in the ring starting no shit if you wasn't gonna finish it. That's your fault. And you ain't got no problem boasting about this titanium screw that you got in your hand and about how you've been knocking people out with one hand. You punched Kevin Owens and that nigga got right the fuck back up. Your only ace in the hole was that you had to bust Kevin's hand against that pole again because you needed to have a one up, seeing as how you got your ass handed to you a couple weeks back. Now, Kevin and Logan got into it and they ended up fighting. Logan ended up slamming his hand against that pole, the ring post. And that's where it ended. He was standing tall while Kevin was, searing in pain. It is what it is. Now, Nicole thinks that the boys, this feud is not going to be over, that this is going to go all the way to WrestleMania, to which I'm starting to believe that she is 100% right. And I have to sit and wait another 2 months listening to Logan Paul is not okay with me. I don't care what no one says. I don't care to hear him on the microphone. He's an abysmal promo cutter. I don't get it. But do you, babe? Do you? Later on in the night, we had one women's match, and this was the tag team title championship match between the Unholy Union, Isla Dawn, and Alba Fire, and of course the Disco Twins, Kaden and Katana. For the most part, it was a fairly solid match between the four women. There really wasn't much to discuss. It was a good matchup. They had good moments in there, but ultimately, the tag team champions were able to prevail over the Unholy Union. Now, of course, Damage Control was out there watching and eyeing the titles that they wanted or want. And they had them teasing Kaden and Katana by holding the titles and dancing with them and acting the fool. And the girls ended up arguing in the ring. Now, of course, this is a predetermination of what's to come in the future, but they had to get Isla and Alba out there so people know that they're there as well. I think it was a bit much to give Isla and Alba a tag team title shot. I feel like they should have gave it to Damage Control first and then had Alba and Isla interfere, causing the match to be a disqualification. Then they should have had it next week where it was either a triple threat or they redid the match again and banned Alba and Isla from the ring. And maybe they could have used their unholy union, you know, character work to make something happen where like the lights go out and somebody disappears or something strange so that they could push this out to elimination chamber where they could have a triple threat between these three teams. To me that would have been a better pickup, but we don't know what Uncle Trip Trip is thinking these days. He said yeah, it's not good. I'll be like, damn, pick a topic. I can't. I don't know what it is with him, but he's not good on the microphone, babe. He's no Anita Max Wing. He's no Anita. Anyways, the last couple of minutes of the show was all about Roman and his fatal four-way opponents. You see, earlier in the night, AJ Styles made it very clear to Nick Aldis that he wanted LA Knight. So they had the match set up right before Randy and Solo's match, which the match never even got to kick off. Really, they had moments. They was able to fight it out a little bit, but Jimmy interfered and so did Solo, causing the match to end in a disqualification. And Solo was like, "We done took out these two. Now, Randy, get your ass out here because I'm gonna take your ass out too." They fought. Jimmy attempted to interfere. LA got involved in that. AJ Styles got involved in that. And then they headed down to the ring. Solo thought he was going to be able to take out Randy with a little sneak Samoan spike, but he ended up suffering an RKO. That was the end of that. Now, LA Knight and AJ Styles got in the ring, got to argue. From my understanding, from what I can remember, LA AJ got LA got RKO after LA got hit in the face, I believe. LA got RKO. And then they went and he grabbed AJ Styles and pointed at LA Knight. He's like, man, look, he laid out. He's like, oh shit. RKO AJ Styles. Now, while Randy was standing there giving a little celebration, he ended up getting punched in the face with a Superman punch. Now, because everybody was laid out, Roman felt like he had the upper hand. So he back to being his tribal chief self, grandstanding and acting a damn fool. And then Nick hands him the contract. He signs it and throws it on the floor. Now, as Randy is getting up to recover from this awesome Superman punch, which didn't connect very well, by the way, he was able to dodge the spear with the RKO. He countered it with the spear, with the RKO, excuse me. It's fucking beautiful, too, by the way. Countered that damn spear and hit that man with that RKO. Roman was laid at. Do you hear me? Roman ain't moved. Randy took that damn contract and laid it in his face and like, bitch, it's official. You can't run from me no more. It's gonna be me, you, and two other motherfuckers at the Royal Rumble. But as long as I can get my hands on your ass, everything is good. Sir, the match is set and the game is on. Roman Reigns will face off against AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Randall. Okay. Everybody's gonna be fighting everybody. All right. SmackDown was a pretty decent show. It wasn't bad at all. We loved it. We enjoyed it. It was a good time. Okay. Now that I've gotten that out the way, let me tell y'all what's going on with Sethy Poo. Seth freaking Rollins has suffered a torn MCL. Now, we do not know the extent of his injury. All we know is that he has suffered a torn MCL. Traditionally, the guesstimation of time frame that he would be off to recover from this shortest amount of time would be 3 weeks. The max from what I saw online is about 12 weeks. And that roughly comes out to almost 3 months, a little bit shy of 3 months. According to Google, it was about 2.7 months, which is like, some a little percentage off from 3 months. So let's just round it out to 3 months that he would be out. Now, 3 months is considerably longer than 11 weeks. If I were Seth Rollins, I would more than likely vacate the title myself, take the time to heal up, get my knee together, get my back together, and then come back, start the feud with CM Punk, and lead that into SummerSlam rather than worrying about hitting the mark for WrestleMania. Now, if this is not a full tear or if it's just a, sprain or a very severe strain on the MCL, then more than likely he will be resting until WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? They won't have him doing anything strenuous. Won't have him doing any work so that it's not aggravating the injury any further. If it's not super bad, then they'll have him rehab it and then he should be fine. But because they haven't given us enough information to know the extent of the injury, we will not know exactly the timetable that he will return and actually be able to recover. So all we can do is say good luck to you, Seth. We hope you recover. And hopefully when you get back, you're 100%, 10 times better and ready to go. And we'll still be able to get that story between you and Punk at some point in this time. But for right now, the focus is getting better. I saw somebody in on my Instagram ask me if I thought he was gonna have to have surgery. I honestly don't know if he's gonna have to have surgery. Like I said, we don't know the extent of his injury, so I am not aware of that. All right. Now, Royal Rumble is next Saturday. It's going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Okay. You're going to have two Royal Rumble matches, two 30-man and one 30-man and one 30-woman Royal Rumble matches. They didn't say they were adding new entrants. They just said that they were going to have these Royal Rumble matches. Of course, there are probably going to be some surprise entrants. There have only been 5 announcements in terms of the Royal Rumble matches for each side as to who are going to be in it. Nobody else has declared for the Rumble, but I'm sure there are going to be plenty of surprises as to who's going to be in it. Also, we also have Kevin Owens and Logan Paul's match at the Royal Rumble. And of course, we got the big kahuna with the Fatal 4-Way at the Royal Rumble. So Royal Rumble's match card is really, really small. There are no women's title matches announced for Royal Rumble at all. So Rhea Ripley nor Io are defending their titles as of right now, which is very strange to me because usually they would have something built right now for one of the women's titles. And Gunther doesn't seem to be Gunther's defending his title at Royal Rumble either, unless they decide to make something really quickly on Monday. But it's just very interesting that they have this card so small. So I have already picked my Royal Rumble winners, and despite what is going on with Seth, my picks have not changed. Now they may change it due to Seth's injury and switch off, but like I said, I think that SmackDown is going to dominate the Royal Rumble on both the women and the men's side. But oh goodness, I wanted it to be Bayley to win for the women, and I just knew that CM Punk was going to win, which I know that he's a Raw superstar. But things might change, so we're going to put a pin in the men's Royal Rumble as of right now and stick with Bayley for the women's because there's not really much to change with the women. Now, next week we're going to have a couple things, okay? Next week for Monday Night Raw, CM Punk is returning, and he's decided to go face to face with the champ. You know, I'm aware that Gunther's not going to wrestle. I was talking about defending his title. I wasn't talking about the Rumble. So he's going to go up against CM Punk on Monday, and they're going to talk face to face. They have a little conversation because CM Punk was like, no, I got something I want to talk about. I think you should be asking me what I want to talk about. So this is happening. We're finally going to have these two former AEW Les Champions, as Chris Jericho likes to call them, face to face, talking on a WWE microphone. It's going to be interesting. Also, next week for SmackDown, you got a couple of matches set. Carlito is going to go up against Santos Escobar. The Kabuki Warriors have reformed, and they're going to go up against the Disco Twins, and you're going to have a rematch for Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory, because tonight Austin Theory felt slighted that they would even talk to Carmelo Hayes over him. After all, Atlanta was his hometown, and Carmelo don't even go here, according to him. So Grayson Waller goaded him into getting a match against Carmelo, which Carmelo obliged. So now Austin Theory is going to have a rematch with Carmelo Hayes, and they're going to fight it out next week. Everything else is tossed up into the air. We don't know what else is going on except for on NXT. We're going to have some semifinals matches for the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Brian Breaker and Baron Corbin will face off against Axiom and Nathan Frazier, and LWO will face off against Hayes and Williams. All right, so we'll see who will advance to the finals of the Dusty Classic, which will happen at Vengeance Day on February 4th, I believe, which is literally the week after Royal Rumble. Anywhoosies, that is it when it comes to WWE wrestling. We're going to switch off to TNA. So for those of you who came in here for WWE stuff, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a little bit of a commercial break. You can take a little break, and I will be back with some TNA stuff.
Still don't know my words, still stressing perfection. Let you all in my mental, got me looking too desperate. Damn, you ain't desire.
side, front line, south side. I've been losing friends and finding peace. Honestly, that sound like a fair trade to me.
Rolling 80 wheels in a safety. Riding on you. Gotta roll OT, gotta give a release. Spread your legs downtown, so I'm going out to eat. Hit the raw sounds when I rock up in your sleep. I'ma roll on the forever, let her roll on me. Split this one down the middle, wake up in a harmony.
Eclipse. Don't close your eyes to get away. Just make my line and I'll arrange it. Beautiful, girl, you're stainless. You'll be fine, I'll be painless, yeah. All I'm drinking is champagne. All you want is the same thing.
Yeah. The 10,000 building, get your ass an apartment, put you inside a G-class, that's just a starter kit. Plenty things count in life, but none of them is the thought of it. New piece around my neck, this chess games. Cause shorty stay with calculated moves like Beth Harmon. Swear I'm more Purple Rain Prince than Prince Charming. Disappointment, I stay expecting it. The pessimist, gold medalists, flush the magnums just so they not collecting my specimens down.
Eclipse.
All right, y'all. We're going to talk about Impact, okay? So hold tight. Hold on. So first, we're gonna start off with Hard to Kill, okay? Because I didn't talk about it last week, so we're gonna talk about it now. I'm gonna go straight to TNA's website and give you guys the info straight from the horse's mouth, okay? That way, I ain't gotta pull up no pictures and do all no extra work, okay? I stopped my Duolingo, so I don't know what that means. I stopped my Duolingo because it was costing me so much money. Oh my goodness, I'm stupid. So last Saturday on January 13th was TNA Wrestling's very first PLE, Hard to Kill. This is their first PLE back as total nonstop action wrestling. And the results are as follows. Rich Swann went up against Steve Macklin. Steve Macklin defeated Rich Swann and basically declared that it was a full-on destruction season for him. Okay. And he was like, I'm going through any and everybody who gets in my way. Former NFL running back D'Angelo Williams, that's who that is. Do you know who that is, AJ?
Mm-hmm.
Who is he?
Fucking hell. Yeah, D'Angelo Williams used to play in the F. I can't remember what team he played for last. I want to say, I don't know why I'm thinking Carolina.
Okay, well, let's look. D'Angelo Williams. Okay. This is Pittsburgh. He did play for Carolina in 2006.
Okay.
It looks like he was drafted by. It looks like he went to Carolina as the draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up going to Pittsburgh and then retired or got cut in Pittsburgh.
I remember him playing for the Panthers.
Well,
he got drafted by.
He must be friends with Moose because he was a part of the system. Now the system consists of Kitty's here. Anita Max Ween. Okay, y'all ignorant. I'm serious. I turned off my Duolingo, so I do not remember. I remember how to speak some conversational English, and I know what mis putas malas is, but I do not know the other part. The other part I'm not adept on. Anywhoosies, they decided to debut their faction this last week, and it is the system. They wanted the world to know why you should always trust the system. For whatever reason, D'Angelo, the system and the actual line for the tagline for it works, but the people consisting in the system, it's a ragtag band of losers.
Well, I mean, it gives you a real look of how the actual system works. It's shitty and fucked up.
Well, fair. When you look at it like that, that makes perfect sense. Thanks, babe. Thank you. Up top. Love that. I still hate it, but they're there. So, moving on. DJ Woo Kid and AJ Francis decided to debut their music video for We Outside at Hard to Kill. Mind you, Hard to Kill was in Vegas at the Palms. While they were debuting their music video for their new single, We're Outside, Joe Hendry came out and interrupted and decided to debut his own music video, poking fun at AJ Francis being the Cheez-It champion and, talking about his last stint in WWE where he essentially slipped off the top rope in the ring and injured himself. DJ Woo Kid, however, was the one who decided to shut up Joe Hendry. He didn't like what Joe Hendry did, so he busted him in the back with his laptop, and this led to AJ Francis hitting Joe Hendry with a really gnarly choke slam. Now, Joe Hendry is not one to never get his lick back, so I'm going to tell you what he did in response to this later on when we get done with Hard to Kill. Now, what we do have is the system versus the TNA originals. So you had Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers versus Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian. In this particular match, the TNA Originals could not best the system. With Alicia Edwards at their side, they were able to beat Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young, and that was the end of that. I'll explain how that unfolds for the TNA Originals in this past Thursday's episode of TNA in a minute. But ultimately, Kazarian and Young lost this match to the system. Also, at Hard to Kill, Tommy Dreamer finally dropped the Digital Media Championship to Crazy Steve. Crazy Steve finally beat this old piece of shit in this goddamn match. This match was a no disqualification match, so Crazy Steve was able to do whatever he wanted, and he used whatever he wanted to take out Tommy Dreamer. He hit him with a chair, edged him with a chair, put him out with a kendo stick, and even tried to stab him again with the fork in the match. Ultimately, Steve sends Dreamer crashing into a trash can and just takes out a bunch of cutlery from his shirt after he wraps Tommy Dreamer's hands together and just stabs him with a bunch of cutlery in his shirt. Then he hits him with a running cannonball and hits him with his signature move, the Belladonna Kiss, which allowed Crazy Steve to become the new digital media champion. And of course, he was very happy about that. The next match was a big match for the women's division. This was the Knockouts Ultimate X match. Now, if you've never seen an Ultimate X match, it's pretty gnarly, and AJ Styles is well known for it back in his TNA days. The simplest explanation is that you have to climb on top of the ring. There's an X across the ring, and there are 4 cables. Well, there are 2 cables, and they're just stretched across the ring, giving you 4 points of entry to get to the Ultimate X. The X is a symbol of basically being able to cash in a contract of any kind at any time to become the Knockouts Women's Champion. Now, there were 6 women who were in this match. Tasha Steelz, a former Knockouts champion in her own right, Alicia Edwards, Giselle Shaw, Jody Threat, Zaya Brookside, and Danny Luna. All 6 of these women successfully competed, but not to the success of being the number 1 Ultimate X winner, which went to Giselle Shaw. Giselle Shaw was able to best all of these women and become the number 1 contender, or the number 1 person to possibly challenge Jordynne Grace for her championship and take it from her. Now, as I said, the Ultimate X match is a very unique match. The cables are stretched across the ring in an X shape. There are 4 points of entry. You have to climb up each side, get on the cable, basically shimmy across the cable, grab the X, and still make it to the bottom of the ring
with said X.
In order to win. So your feet have to touch the ring floor in order for you to win. You can't win just by simply grabbing the X. That's not enough. Someone could knock you out and take that X from you, and they could win the match. So you have to fight your way through a bunch of things to get that X. And I think it is probably one of the funnest matches that I've ever watched, and it was pretty damn good. The replay for this particular PLE is up right now on YouTube if you want to watch it. But if you wanted to see the PLE in full view at full capacity live, you were gonna have to pay full price of $40. That was just the way that it was. Now they had the match with PCO and Dirty Dango. Now I'm going to explain this very simply so that you guys can understand what ended up happening. PCO and Dirty Dango were in the ring having their match, and Dirty Dango's crew interfered, causing a disqualification. This led to Rhino and Jake something coming out there to help. This also led to the DOA, the Director of Authority, Santino Morella, coming out to change the match because he didn't want the match to end with PCO being taken out by Dirty Dango and his merry band of idiots. So it led to a six-man tag team match. It was PCO, Rhino, and Jake Something versus Dirty Dango, Oleg Prudis, and Alpha Bravo. And Oleg Prudis is just what's his face? I can't think of his name right now, but it's him. Anyways, PCO, Rhino, and Jake Something beat Dirty Dango, Oleg Prudis, and Alpha Bravo. Okay. Now, somebody was showing up at the Palms Resort, and nobody knew who it was. They were so shocked when they finally found out who was showing up. Okay, but first we had the Knockouts World Tag Team Championship being contested by Rosemary and Havoc, also known as Decay. MK Ultra, Masha Slamovich, and Killer Kelly have been pretty dominant tag team champions, and they did not have a match scheduled at Hard to Kill. But once Rosemary and Havoc reemerged from the undead realm, they were hungry for some gold around their waists. So a match was scheduled. Rosemary and Havoc defeated MK Ultra. Didn't they? Yeah. Rosemary and Havoc defeated MK Ultra to become the new Knockouts World Tag Team Champions. And of course, they're very happy to be back in their form as Havoc and Rosemary. But prior to that, they were Jessica and I don't know the other girl's name. Alexis know more than I do about that. Any whoosies. Let me see what the other matches were. They also announced that there was going to be a new partnership between AAA Worldwide and TNA. The Lucha Libre AAA Worldwide CEO President Dorian Joaquin Rodan Pena and Scott D'Amore announced a new partnership between the two of them, which I like because that means we get to see people like Vikingo and Kushida and Chris Sabin go at it, which is exactly what happened next after the announcement of the partnership. This was a triple threat match for the X Division Championship. And right now, Vikingo is a champion over in AAA, and Kushida is still chasing that gold that he's been chasing for the last couple of years in TNA Impact. He always comes really close, but never really gets to, um, you know, stand tall with the championship. Anyways, Chris Sabin defeated Kushida and Vikingo to still retain his X Division Championship with a pretty gnarly Canadian destroyer, which works out for him. Now, probably one of the best matches on the card, according to a lot of the fans who watched the show, was Josh Alexander versus Alex Hammerstone. This match was added later, as far as I'm concerned, and I remember there really wasn't much build up to it. This was just a one-off match, a very cold match to see who's better than the other. And both men put on a stellar performance, but ultimately it was Josh Alexander who ended up defeating Alex Hammerstone, but it was not easy. This was a hard fought battle between Alex Hammerstone and Josh Alexander. And it just goes to prove how great Josh Alexander really is and how a lot of people don't give him the credit that he truly deserves. Moving forward, it was time for the tag team titles. The Grizzled Young Vets, as we call them, GYV, was taking on Mike Bailey and Laredo Kid, the Rascals, and the current reigning defending tag team champions, ABC. Ultimately, ABC was able to retain their tag team championships against these three formidable teams, and the Rascals are on the outside looking in, but the Grizzled Young Vets are not done. They got a lot of work to do, and they still were able to compete this past Thursday, and I'm going to tell y'all how that went as well. Just give me 1 second. Moving on, the young lady who showed up to the Palms in a nice car and was grabbing all of their attention earlier in the show was Ash by Elegance, formerly known as Dana Brooke. She was sitting front row for the Knockouts World Championship match between Jordan Grace and Trinity Fatu. Speaking of the Knockouts World Championship match, Jordan Grace and Trinity put on a banger of a match. It was stellar. These two women fought as hard as they could, and this was probably one of Trinity's most challenging fights in her life because Jordan Grace may be annoying outside of wrestling. In wrestling ring, she is a formidable opponent with the strength of a lot of people and a lot of prowess and the talent that she had. Trin was going to have to be able to have the stamina, the skill, and the talent to be able to keep up with the juggernaut. And by God, did she ever. She put on a classic match for herself as well as for the people who were watching. And if you missed it, please go and watch the replay because it's well worth the watch. And with respect to Trin, she did end up dropping the title to Jordan Grace. Now on Twitter, she demanded a rematch, but she did it in her own way. However, I don't know when or if she's going to get that rematch, but I would love to see her possibly get her title back or at least attempt to. The final match of the night went to Alex Shelley and Moose. Alex Shelley is the one who led Impact into this new era back to the TNA days of wrestling. And of course, Moose is annoying and the new leader of the system. Now, I didn't like this. I felt like you can let Alex Shelley be champion while you're TNA. He never got the opportunity to be champion while the company was TNA. And as soon as they go back to TNA, they take the title off of him. Quite frankly, Alex Shelley was a great champion the entire time that he was champion. He had good matches and really good feuds with several superstars in that company. So I feel like he earned the right to be able to be ushering in the new era as the TNA champion. Now it's a TNA champion rather than, just letting him carry the title into the pay-per-view and for him to walk out with nothing. That's just me personally. However, to keep this short and sweet, this black bitch over here won the championship, and the system was standing tall and proud, cheering at the top of the key. And then music hit, and it was somebody there that they didn't recognize. And of course, that person was Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth showed up and shocked the world by hitting a nice little zigzag on Moose and taking him out and then showing the world that he was all for TNA. And that's how it went off. Hard to Kill was a pretty solid show, and they left the world asking questions and wanting more, especially with Nick Nemeth showing up and Ash by Elegance showing up. It was a lot going on. But let's get into Impact this past Thursday. Impact stayed in Vegas this week. They were at the Palms Resort. They not only did Snake Eyes that next Saturday, I believe it was, but they also had another small little show that they were doing that they were selling tickets for in Vegas. And they're going to be in Vegas pretty much this whole week and the rest of the weekend, I think. But the very first match of the night was this big 6-man X Division scramble. Kushida versus Trey Miguel versus Laredo Kid versus Mike Bailey versus Hugo del Vikingo versus Jake Something. Now, I don't understand how Jake Something fits into the X Division. Jake Something doesn't, in my opinion. He's a heavyweight. He should be wrestling somewhere else. But they put him in this X Division scramble and he beat everybody. However, everybody else really showed out in this particular match. Trey Miguel had a good spot. Laredo Kid had a great spot, as did Mike Bailey and Vikingo. And even Kushida had some time as well. But Jake Something's part in this match was to literally show his dominance over everybody and the power he possessed. And he was able to do that, but I feel like he could have did that in a singles match with somebody else, preferably with somebody that he wrestled that past Saturday, rather than have him be in an X Division match with men who are half his weight and half his height. I didn't get it. But do you, babe? Will Ospreay was interviewed, and I swear to God, I didn't understand nothing that he was saying. that man's like, that man talking is just so abrasive on the brain. I immediately tuned him out. However, he vowed to beat Josh Alexander once again because he felt like, he's already beat you once, and he was like, you're coming up against me off of a banger of a match with Alex Hammerstone. Good for you, but you know damn well that I'm gonna beat you, and I've beat you before. He ran that shit down so many times. It was just okay, girl. Now, everybody was concerned about Ash by Elegance, and a lot of people equated her to looking like Toni Storm. But the reality is, Toni Storm and Ash by Elegance couldn't be further away from each other. In fact, Ash by Elegance's, I guess you could say, pseudo debut in TNA wrestling gave me perfume ad. Like full on J'adore Dior perfume ad. That's what I got from it. I got fucking Dolce and Gabbana blue. Like any perfume ad you can think of, that's what I got from this particular video. It didn't really show anything other than that. And the only thing that you could say that made people think about her possibly looking like Toni was her red nails and the lipstick and the hair. But quite frankly, anybody can wear red lipstick, red nails, and blonde hair. It's not new, and this isn't new for Ash either. She has always been a blonde as long as I've known and seen her. Even when she was Dana Brooke, she was a blonde. So it just seems like they equated it to that because she had the manager, and it seemed like she was a man, and the male manager valet-esque thing kind of equated it together. But she is doing something different. So first, give her some room to breathe and not accuse her of biting someone's style. Let her breathe, okay? Those of you who are coming in or are sitting and listening, I have not looked at any of the comments, so I apologize if I'm not responding to you, but I'm trying to get this out and get it done. Now, Giselle Shaw, of course, was boasting and laughing and really, tooting her own horn about how she bested everybody and won the opportunity to be the Ultimate X Knockouts winner and have her challenge, and can't wait to challenge Jordan Grace for the Knockouts Championship. Now, Gail Kim walked up and congratulated her and told her that you don't need Savannah Evans and Jay Vidal in order to be successful. You did this all by yourself, and I always known that it was in you. And Giselle Shaw kind of just pushed her off. And I was just like, girl, she said some real shit. So you could have just at least acknowledged her. Now, baby Leo Rush and Zaya Brookside had a match today, Thursday as well. And Tasha Steelz did beat Zaya Brookside, but it was a hard fought battle between her and Tasha. Oh no, I'm sorry. Brookside beat Tasha Steelz. My bad. She hit her with a move called the broken wings, double knees. And then she hit her with a neck breaker, and she was able to hit her with another move called the Brookside Bomb, and that's how she was able to get the win. I was reading that wrong, so I am sorry. I did watch that, but I didn't watch that match. When I left from the bathroom, it had went off and Zaya Brookside was standing up, so I didn't know if she had won or not. Now, the part about Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry had got a little receipt on Thursday. I told y'all that DJ Woo Kid and AJ Francis attacked Joe for Joe coming out there making fun of AJ Francis. So Joe Hendry decided to tell everybody how he felt about it and make sure that DJ Woo Kid got exactly what he deserved. When we saw him, that man was sitting in a trash can, and Joe slammed his broken laptop on DJ Woo Kid. It's a pretty funny scene, so if you ever get the opportunity to go on Twitter to watch it, you should definitely go on Twitter and watch it because it was funny. The Grizzled Young Vets went up against the TNA Originals, Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young lost this match to the Grizzled Young Vets, okay? Grizzled Young Vets are no slouch. They never have been, and they never will be. But In this match, there was some wires crossed, and Frankie Kazarian ended up hitting Eric Young, which led to a win for the Grizzled Young Vets. Now, Frankie's in the ring asking Eric what happened, and Eric is just dazed and confused because of the hit. But Frankie bald-headed ass attacks Eric Young when he's the reason why they lost. He lost because he miscalculated and hit his own partner and took him out. His main gripe is that he was tired of losing. He said this was supposed to be his year, and Eric Young ruined it. He ruined it, and he's ruining everything.
Soil that.
Yeah. So he basically attacked Frank. He attacked Eric Young and beat him down in the ring. And then he walked away. Him and his ball spot. I was like, okay, so Frankie's a heel now. Great. Moving on. Because it wasn't worth what we saw. Now, Moose. Moose, Myers, Edwards, and the Edwards are now known as a system, and they were celebrating taking Alex Shelley out to become the TNA champion at Hard to Kill. And then Edwards says no one could beat the system, not even Nick Nemeth. The reason why this doesn't work for me is because, like I said, you have a merry band of losers coming together to create a faction. It just, there's no plausibility with them. And then Moose posted this picture on his Twitter. It's too good to not show you. You have to see this picture because god damn, the photoshopping. Jesus Christ. He did not try. Not at all. Let me see if I can pull it up on my page. What's that? Oh. Browsers. Child, look at this. Look at this. I'm finna switch it so y'all can see. Hold tight. Hold tight. Y'all, look at this. Now, you know, this is a mess. Look at how tacky it is. It's so tacky. It's so messy and tacky. It's just like you went to your phone. It was like, Pixar, remove the background. We just gonna put it over white. Now, you know what's a damn shame is the fan.
The system only.
The fan made one look better than the one you created. How is that even possible? It's still gross looking. It still looks like a child made it, but damn, like, this is what you posted. This is you, babe. It's all you. When a bunch of losers get together, we call them the Dallas Cowboys. Period. Kimmy ain't shit, yo. She ain't shit. All right, so let's get on to Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth showed up, and he's referring to himself as the wanted man, Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth is wanted everywhere. He just showed up in New Japan, got a whole thing going in New Japan. Just showed up in TNA, got a whole thing going on in TNA. I wouldn't be surprised when he get done with whatever he got going on in TNA and or New Japan if he wouldn't pop up in AEW and start shaking the table in AEW too. Okay? But Nick said when he went to the ring that he got to get used to all the fans calling him Nick because that's a new thing for him. Y'all know for years he's been called Dolph Ziggler over at WWE. But he made it very clear that he will become the TNA World Champion. And then he said that he respects the locker room and that is why he will not demand a TNA championship match without earning it. Well, Steve Macklin came out and said that he was a phony. He said that Macklin says that Nick Nemeth will suck the blood out of TNA and then leave for somewhere else. And he said nobody's going to remember the name Nick. All they're going to ask is whatever happened to Dolph Ziggler. And Macklin took the microphone and knocked it out of Nick Nemeth's hand, but Nick takes him out with the danger zone. And that's how it ended for Nikki Pooh. Now, Jay Vidal came in the ring and talked about breaking out in professional wrestling in Las Vegas. He said coming back reminds him as to why he left in the first place. And then PCO comes out. PCO hits him with a choke slam, followed by the PCO salt. And that's it. Jay Vidal loses. Game over, I guess. The legendary Okada returns to TNA next week as he joins forces with the Motor City Machine Guns to battle the System in a 6-man tag team match. Trinity will get her rematch against Jordan Grace next week for the Knockouts World Championship, and Nick Nemeth will make his TNA in-ring debut when he goes one-on-one with Zachary Rentz, one half of the Rascals tag team. This is going to be an interesting night next Thursday. All right. And next Thursday, we will also get, we got this Thursday. I think it was this week. The final match of the night, which was the main event, was Will Ospreay and Josh Alexander Part 2. And Josh Alexander finally beat Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay lost via a thunderous C4 spike, and Josh Alexander was able to get the victory. See what happens when you're overly confident, babe. You lose, bruv. You lose. After the match was over, Scott D'Amore came out with a heartfelt message about the rebirth of TNA wrestling. And he said that TNA wrestling is back and it's never going away. And that's how it went off the air. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was TNA. All right. TNA had a pretty solid last 2 weeks. They've been really upping the ante, and they've got some good things in place. I don't really care for some of their wrestlers, namely Moose. I do not like Moose. I've never been a fan of his. But I will say that it's going to be interesting to see how all of this is going to play out. I have a sneaky suspicion that Trinity is not going to best Jordan Grace next week, and she's going to pop up in the Royal Rumble after she loses to Jordan Grace. I also have a suspicion that later on down the line, at some point, Alicia Edwards more than likely will be Knockouts champion, and then she may end up losing it to Giselle Shaw. I also think Giselle Shaw is going to be Knockouts champion this year at some point. I don't think Jordan Grace is going to hold that title for long. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I am done. Those are your wrestling recaps. Thank you so much for coming in. And don't forget, next Saturday is the Royal Rumble. Hopefully everything will be set and we won't have to worry about any new additions and we can just enjoy the show. I hope you guys enjoyed my recap of SmackDown and, of course, of TNA. And I will see you guys on Monday when we talk about Monday Night Raw and all the shenanigans leading into the Royal Rumble. And make sure you have your Royal Rumble picks for Wednesday so we can talk about who we think is going to show up, who we think is going to win, and all that good stuff. All right? And do not forget to share, like, and subscribe. It really helps my channel. And I like having a bunch of people here. It makes me feel good about myself. Anyways,